So what is happening right now is we see we see the world big picture. We see the stumbling on the way. We see the way in which world powers are now beginning to reposition and reassess the United States. But it's not only the world around us, it's the world on the inside of us, with our border walls collapsing, with the whistle going off for migrants to be able to work their way over the borders in the United States, with legislation beginning to be advanced to take 20 million resident illegals and give them citizenship, to continue to promise that the government is going to be funding and caring for all of these when it looks as though 30 to 40% of our own small businesses are going bankrupt while the money is going to other causes. You almost would think that you got a drunk driver in the front seat and you're in the back seat. And if it feels that way, then the mechanisms the founders put in place for culture for the United States are actually ingenious. They have a Congress that turns over every 2 years. Congress, that part of the House, is considered to be like, the hot, boiling water of culture. Can always ventilate and express itself into like a cup where it's going to be 2 years. Every 2 years you pour it out and pour it in. So there's a place to take the tension in the nation and deposit it so that there's some resolution. Think how smart this is. But then every 6 years the Senate has an election. They did that on purpose, because that means you can go through 3 cycles of water boiling populism. But the Senate has a longer duration before it has to worry about playing politics. It could start to think a little bit about what's in the best interest of the country. And theoretically, that's why it was designed. And so in the Senate, you have a different kind of more mature club environment. And in the Congress, you got a little more feisty, manifestation of personality. But the Senate's always had this kind of like protocol between them. They get along behind the scenes. And they do in real life, too, which is kind of disturbing at times when you think about it. But the reality is the Senate has a protocol, which means that if something super controversial that comes up is going to fundamentally change America, such as change the voting laws, we're going to change them all, we're going to overturn all the states' laws, we're going to have one standard, ballots for everyone, ballots coming in after November 3rd, they can come in for a week or 10 days, and no driver's license, no ID. If you can show up and vote, it's good enough for us. And so if you have that kind of massive destruction to the election, the House will put it through, because you see the House is dominated by the passions of the controlling party at that time. The Senate is supposed to deliberate. But something strange has happened. The fever that has taken over in the left, the spiritual virus, you could say, that is operating, creates an irrational impulse to power that wants to permanently crush any opposition and create a utopian world. And so the Senate, which normally is divided 50-50 right now, is discussing changing how it operates. And the filibuster now comes into play. So H.R. 1 is that wild ride of overhauling the American election system to make permanent the dysfunction that we saw in the last federal election. Imagine that. Let's set it up so we could do it all of the time. Essentially wiping out the Republican Party as an opposition, wiping out half of America and its opinions. That's how bad it is. But the Senate now has to look at this. Congress has said, go ahead. Congress is nutty. Now, Congress is Mr. Potato Head. They'll do whatever's crazy. Senate has to go, wait, where are the adults in the House? Is this really good? But the senators, Mercedes, are saying they would like to eradicate the brakes that are on the Senate, which is called a filibuster. Filibuster allows a debate over highly transformative and significant legislation, a debate that can only be stopped by 60 votes. So you got 100 votes there. So that means you got to persuade some of your other party. This is how the idea is. You got to persuade some of your opposition. A 60-vote quorum in the Senate will bring the debate to an end, and they go to what's called cloture, which is the French word for close it out, and vote on it Up or down, are we going to do this thing? Well, the Democrats are now in the process of removing a filibuster. They want to take the brakes off. They simply want their majority. They got like a 50-50 chance with Kamala Harris at 51. They're playing poker. They're saying, get rid of that filibuster, get rid of that 60-vote quorum. We're just going to go right for majority rule, and we're going to just ram everything we want to do right down your throat while we got a chance. Then we'll get rid of Biden, stick Kamala Harris in, give us a chance for a reprieve, and then Harris will execute the next 2 years of lethal wrath upon America. That's how I look at it. What do you say, Mercedes?
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is, just to add a little bit of clarity to this, the really dangerous thing is, so you're talking about the 60 votes to close it, to close out the debate. So, yeah, you're right. It's a little bit of like a last line of defense. We've got this floating out there. We still got the filibuster. But with a simple majority vote, they could do away with the filibuster, which is the thing that the progressive Democrats are really pushing for. So, you know, our old school guys that have been there for a while were like, no, we won't do it. They're out there defending it when they're not in power. Now they're entertaining it because they're radical leftists saying, just push these agendas through, get rid of the filibuster. And so we've got, I'd love to go to Mitch McConnell. I see a different one queued up. If we could queue up Mitch, I want you to hear Mitch, because good old Mitch, I wish we could play him at double the speed because you know how he is. But this, I want you to hear what he's saying, because I actually really enjoy it. And he's basically saying, I'm going to scorch the earth if you move forward with getting rid of the filibuster. So let's hear what Mitch says in not so many words.
I want our colleagues to imagine a world where every single task, every one of them, requires a physical quorum. Everything that Democrat senates did to Presidents Bush and Trump, everything the Republican Senate did to President Obama, would be child's play compared to the disaster that Democrats would create for their own priorities if they break the Senate. As soon as Republicans wound up back in the saddle, we wouldn't just erase every liberal change that hurt the country. We'd strengthen America with all kinds of conservative policies with zero input from the other side. How about this? Nationwide right to work for working Americans. Defunding Planned Parenthood in sanctuary cities on day one. A whole new era of domestic energy production. Sweeping new protections for conscience and the right to life of the unborn. Concealed carry reciprocity in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. Massive hardening of security on our southern border.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, so in not so many words, Mitch calls it it will be 100-car pileup, because
he lit the house on fire, people.
If you couldn't tell, that was Mitch really guns blazing, okay? And so Mitch is saying, look, we won't even show up. You won't have a quorum. You're not even going to have a quorum if you're going to move forward with this radicalized agenda. You can't even turn the lights on. It's going to be a 100-car pileup is what he said. Now, we've got something a little more entertaining to watch. The always grandstanding Lindsey Graham had this to say. So we're going to play this clip, much more entertaining to watch.
Would be transformational to the country in a really bad way. It would destroy the Senate as we know it. Anything big like this, you should be able to get a few votes from the other side, right? If you want to federalize the elections and do away with redistricting by the states and turn it over to some commission that will fundamentally change how you vote, if you want to go to ballot harvesting nationally and take authority away from the states, shouldn't that be at least somewhat bipartisan? So I'm confident. I talked to Joe Manchin today that he's not going to vote to abolish the filibuster. But let me say this. If they pick up one more seat in 2022, if they get 51 or 52 Democratic senators, they're going to abolish the filibuster and transform America.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I trust Joe Manchin as far as I could throw him. That's just my opinion, Lance. But, you know, here's the thing. It's our last line of defense. And in all of this, in the entire discussion we've been talking about today with Trump being removed out of power and liberals just trying to push forward a radical agenda, we are within a hair away from that happening. I mean, honestly, and the filibuster being removed. And the last line of defense, in all honesty, is you and is me and this great awakening Lance is talking about. So I'm just going to throw it back to you, Lance, for the close here. But
yeah, here's the deal. Senator Manchin, the problem is he has never been strong. He's a Democrat. And so what you end up with is you got these Democrats always vote lockstep. They like goose step together. And Republicans, we have our spastic Mitt Romneys that fly over here, and always somebody we can't count on up in Alaska or in the New England area. But the reality is that Senator Manchin and Sinema, two Democrats, are the ones we're counting on to be the firewall. I don't think you can count on that as strong as you wish. But what you can count on is this, that when McConnell had the opportunity to do this, and he was pressured by Trump, he said, we've got the Senate, we got the Congress, we got the executive branch, let's push this through, push this through, push this through. I wished we could make the point that McConnell and the Republicans chose not to do this because it would have been literally transforming America over the will of half of the population. But notice something here. It's so important you catch this. This scorpion will bite you. The left will take you out. When given the power, they will use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to mobilize. That's what you are. The firewall, the awakening. You are the Patriot resource that's going to save America. We're going to be back again every week. Watch us on social media. Watch every week. See you next week.
As a pandemic wreaks havoc and angry mobs burn our cities, Lance Wallnau explains why this is happening and takes you into the ancient text he describes as God's Chaos Code. This is the exciting sequel to Lance's best-selling book, God's Chaos Candidate, where he predicted Donald Trump would be president. God's Chaos Code predicts this exact moment in history and what is coming next.
When you're in the midst of shaking and uncertainty, the one thing that can give you confidence is knowing what God has said about the time that you're in. If the Lord tells you ahead of time what's going to happen, you can be certain things are going to be working out. The Lord has given us that code in the Bible. He's told us what's coming in America, what's coming to the nations. He's literally given us the chaos code. We can understand what's happening and be awakened in the midst of it. You need to understand and get this chaos code.
You need to know the code. Order God's Chaos Code now at godschaoscode.com.